Wow. I mean, what a movie. Going into this movie, I thought it would be alright at best. I thought it would be the usual twist on an ordinary suburban family type of movie we've seen a million times. But wow, it defied all of my expectations. We've seen these situations in stories just like this one. A normal, ordinary family living their best life until something happens that changes them and how they interact with each other forever. I feel like all of these shallow movies stem from Desperate Housewives due to how popular that show was during its airing and how fresh the idea was at the time. I mean, the show literally starts off with the death of what is supposed to be the main character. If that doesn't draw you in, I don't know what will. What actually made Desperate Housewives unique and fresh was the development of characters and how they evolved after the suicide. Over-reliance on shock value is where most of these movies lose their quality. Character development and cultivating the story further is extremely crucial to pulling off this type of show/movie. Shock may draw people in, but it won't keep them entertained forever. In contrast, Desperate Housewives gives us perspectives on 3 different families and how each of them grow into their own person. Bree is introduced to us as what you would call the perfect woman. She fits that outdated model: perfect attire, great cooking, always smiling, and a wonderful personality. While she may seem perfect to everybody else, her own family hates her. She has become too perfect, going as far as to only cook fancy soups that the rich would have, but they aren't rich. They're an average middle-class American family that wants to do average things, like have cheeseburgers for dinner. By constantly letting her know how her pursuit for perfection has ruined her, Bree is too stuck in her ways and refuses to change. After the suicide, reality hits Bree like a truck. She realizes that none of her family members like her, with the most vocal being, sadly, her husband. He constantly talks about how much better she was in college and how being imperfect was what made him like her, aggravating her to the point of accidentally killing him. It is then when we start to see Bree change, even if she still tries to keep up that perfect image. We start to see more of the children and their perspectives on life as they navigate the world without a father figure, relying on a perfect woman who only seems to hinder them. Don't forget there's other families that we see perspectives to as well. That is why people were so drawn to Desperate Housewives in 2002. A unique, fresh twist on a common trope stirred up a shocking tragedy and how people moved on from it. The incident didn't hinder them, it made them face reality and grow up. By the way I was talking, you would think that Desperate Housewives came first, which makes it even more surprising that American Beauty came out 3 years before Desperate Housewives touched the channel. American Beauty is the inverse of Desperate Housewives. I think the main reason why I liked American Beauty so much is due to this reason. Instead of the incident happening first, the incident happens at the end of the movie. Lester Burnham, I think that's how you say it, is an average man living an average life. He basically has everything anybody would want: a child, a nice house, and a stable income. Those are the 3 key things to being successful and prosperous here in the great land of America. Yet, he's more miserable than ever. I wouldn't really say miserable, but his motivation to do anything has basically been long gone. For him, every day is the same. Nothing ever changes. He wakes up, kisses his wife, eats breakfast with his family, goes to work, comes home, eats dinner with his family, relaxes, and goes to bed. It was fine for 15 plus years, but now something feels off. Nothing was ever off. It was simply realization that made him feel like this. And this is where we lead into his midlife crisis. That realization that for 40 more years, he'll have to live like this. Every day will feel the same and nothing will ever change. And if he tries to break that change, he won't be able to live. The movie starts off in the middle of this midlife crisis. We don't get to see the beginning of it, and I think that was a great choice by the director of this movie. It makes him feel more ordinary than instead starting the movie with him happy. When movies do that, it feels fake to me, because yes, we were in that state at one point, but we aren't anymore. We're so deep into that middle stage to the point where we can only briefly remember that starting point. This isn't the past, it's now. Then we are introduced to Bree 2.0, Jane Burnham, his wife. She has the same qualities as Bree, being perfect, always smiling, listening to classic music, gardener, etc. All qualities that fit the outdated perfect woman model. Despite Lester becoming depressed and lacking purpose to live, as brought on by the midlife crisis, Jane seems to be perfectly content with her situation. It doesn't bother her that her life is a cycle and that she does the same thing over and over again. To be perfect, you must never show an ounce of displeasure. She sees her husband as a loser, according to Lester himself. Whenever he tries to vent, they don't understand what he's talking about at all. What he's dealing with is self-pity, which is somewhat true. Usually during a midlife crisis, an individual tries to appeal and be cool with the youth. In his case, he's depressed and reserved from society, even if that society includes his own family. He can't understand where he went wrong, and now it's affecting everyone around him. Perhaps the most affected person by Lester's midlife crisis is his daughter, Jane. Yes, her and her mother both share the same first name. I will call her Jane too, to avoid confusion. Due to him becoming more reserved, he really shows affection towards his daughter. He only now realizes his mistake and tries to talk to her, but the damage has already been done. Throughout the movie, you can notice that everything she does revolves around attention. Her father and her mother fight so much and pay so little attention to her that she feels the need to seek it out from other people, like her best friend and the soon-to-be introduced love interest. As the movie goes on, we start to see a slip in each character's personality, most notably being Jane. Despite her best efforts to put on a brave face and do her best in the world, society and reality are less apathetic and uncaring about her perfect personality. It's clearly getting to her. The feud between her husband, her emotional distance from her daughter, nobody willing to care for her. It's like nothing can go her way. I like to highlight the scene where she breaks down crying because nobody will buy her house she's selling. Apparently the family is into real estate, so that's great to know. All day, potential owners come and pass, giving her rude remarks. All the renovations, cleaning, it was for nothing in her eyes. She closes up the blinds so no one can see her and starts crying. She then starts to hit herself, telling herself to shut up, using remarks such as "Stop it, you weed, you baby! Shut up! Shut up! Shut up!" Most likely brought on from childhood abuse/trauma. This small, glossed over scene shows why she aims to be so perfect, fearing being seen as weak and a baby in the eyes of someone. This is why the movie is so great. So much taken from one tiny little scene, and we're not even 25% there yet. Their ordinary life goes on, until Jane and Lester head to Jane 2's pep rally to watch her cheer move she's been practicing all week. Something Jane 2 says she doesn't care about, but we know she truly does. This is where Lester meets the main protagonist or main character of this movie, Angela. Her beauty catches the eye of Lester, to the point where he forgets about everything else but her. She represents innocence, that youth that Lester yearns for. Lester was once young and vibrant like her, but he has lost that. He finally figured it out. He finally found out what he lost. He doesn't actually like her, just what she represents, youth. Youth is an undervalued feeling until it's been taken away. We often don't appreciate good things while we have them, and being young is no different. When you actually become an adult, you start to truly realize the burden of the responsibilities bestowed upon you. Nobody takes care of you, only you. Nobody looks at you differently anymore. You're treated like the rest of society. Most people accept this fate, but the ones that don't often end up having a midlife crisis, like Lester. The control you once had over your life and free will is now gone, and he wants it back. But that's just not how the world works. After the game/pep rally, Lester performs a complete 180, and so does the rest of the cast. He begins to obsess over her, chasing after that feeling he once had. If she says she likes men with muscles, he begins to work out. If she says she likes men with large mustaches, he gets a mustache. Anything to appease and appeal to her. Appeal to that juvenile feeling you have when you're young and free. When you don't have to worry about anything and you can do whatever you want. He starts doing stuff he did when he was 17 to 22, like smoking and listening to his favorite music, rock, instead of the bland classical music his wife plays. Of course, this decision to recess back into a juvenile negatively impacts his family. His wife becomes more fed up than ever, not being able to understand why he's behaving like this. He has found joy, but she couldn't have been more miserable in her life than ever. And very conveniently, what she's looking for appears. A man by the name of Buddy Kane. He represents everything she aspires to be. A successful real estate company owner, rich, and most importantly, willing to listen to her. When she vents and complains, he actually listens, even if that listening is done under the influence. To her, he's the ideal man alongside her ideal personality, and when she realized that, it was over for that marriage. The marriage was dead in the water. Jane 2's life also changes in a pretty dramatic way, but not due to Lester's decision. She meets Ricky Fitz, a well-known quote-unquote weirdo and a stalker to the neighborhood. He records everything and anything with his camcorder, compiling hundreds upon hundreds of VHS tapes. He isn't very social, but from the interactions he has with Jane 2, we can tell he isn't afraid to say whatever is on his mind. Every time he talks to Jane 2, she tells him that he's a weirdo and to stop talking to her, but he continues to approach her anyways. If this were anybody else, they would have called the police, probably got a restraining order or something of the sort. Jane 2, however, does not. She instead starts to grow feelings towards Ricky Fitz, creating a rift between her and Angela, who can't understand why she would love a stalker. It's quite easy to understand though from her perspective. Like Jane, she has to resort to finding love and attention in other ways, even if that love and attention is from a stalker. He cares deeply about her to the point of breaking into locked rooms for her, recording her every move, etc. This is a level of attention her mother or father should have provided for her, but they're too busy living their own lives, stuck in their own ways. Her feelings toward Ricky are further validated when she truly gets to know him. Ricky may seem like a loser, stalker, creep, but there's more to his character than meets the eye. When Lester meets Ricky at the same meeting Jane meets Buddy Kane, they begin to talk. This talk is, of course, under the influence, but a lot about Ricky is revealed. We learn that he's a drug dealer, the revenue source behind his VHS tapes and his massive music collection. We learn that, like Lester, he aims to do whatever he wants with little reprimands, but most importantly, we learn what he represents to Lester. Just like how Angela represents youth, Ricky represents the essence of free will. During that talk, his boss interrupts them and tells Ricky to get back to work, as he's still on the clock. Not to mention the weed he's smoking while on the clock. Instead of obeying his boss's orders, something Lester would have done if put in his situation, Ricky quit on the spot. He didn't like the way he was spoken to, so he quit. He doesn't care about the repercussions at all. In fact, he's probably gonna go home after this and record Lester's daughter. He just doesn't fear anything or anyone. Nothing can stop him, except for his father. More on him later. Free will is an essential part of being young and youthful. When you're a teenager, you don't have to worry about punishment compared to an adult. Even if you do get punished, you don't have to worry about adult laws or facing extreme punishment. Most adults wish they could experience that guilt-free life again, but the government and society have made that impossible, for a good reason. Somebody has to fulfill the needs of society, and it's not going to be the kids for obvious reasons. After witnessing the miracle Ricky just performed, Lester becomes even more juvenile in his attitude and mentality. He quits his job through a poorly written article and blacklists the company to give him money. He gets a new job at a fast food place as a cashier, despite his age, uncaring about what society has to say about him. He becomes addicted to working out, often spending most of his time there smoking weed and listening to his favorite music. He doesn't realize that, yes, while he may seem to be free at the moment, he's not young anymore. His main revenue is gone, he can barely support the family as it is. He's at his worst mentally, but he doesn't care. He regained his free will. Another thing I like about this movie is how the movie takes its time developing these characters and not rushing into dramatic events. That happens at the very end of the movie. We get to see their lives as each family member does their own thing and how distant they become because of it. We get to see the growing tensions between Jane 2 and Angela, Lester discovering Jane cheating, Jane developing into a stronger independent woman because of it. All things we would have never seen if this movie relied on shock value like every other movie in this genre. We get to learn more about Ricky's father, his stern attitude and seriousness, and the gradual reveal of him being the reason why he doesn't want his son to be like him and endure the same ridicule he did. We get to learn about Ricky's mother, her disability, and how she truly feels being married to a man like Chris. We get to learn about Ricky and his eventual falling out with his father and sudden move with Jane 2 to another place, which is New York. We get to learn about everybody's family and their personal life, except for one person, Angela. During this period of growth and development for these characters, Angela is noticeably absent. We rarely see her, even though she's the quote-unquote main character of this movie. She's literally the reason for all of this change, so where is she? It turns out Angela was going through something as well, but unlike every other character, she has no one to save her. She has no buddy, no Ricky, just herself. She constantly craves attention, putting on heavy amounts of makeup and saying absurd sexual things hoping somebody will listen, but nobody does. According to her, she hates being ordinary and boring, being forgotten in the world, which is something I hope we can all relate to. None of us want to live life like Lester, but we don't solve this lingering problem by going around with multiple guys. It's never explicitly stated in the movie, but I'm assuming that nobody's there for her at home. She has no guidance, and that's why she acts the way she does. To Lester, she was everything but ordinary, but to her, she's nobody special. The choice not to focus on Angela was a great choice. It shows that just like everybody else in the movie, she's human too. Despite her perfect looks, she has flaws just like the rest of society. It may not show, but they're there. It also communicates an unfriendly divorce between her and Jane 2. By dating Ricky, Jane 2 no longer feels the need to hang out with Angela and put up with her. That attention and emotional support that she needed has been fulfilled. Now seeing Angela for who she really is. She was able to put up with the sexual comments and behavior before, but now they seem to be the forefront of every discussion they have. And after Jane 2 becomes fed up and they end their friendship, Angela turns to the only person who makes her feel special, Lester. I also would like to highlight camera techniques and scenes that develop the story alongside dialogue and behavior. We learn the drive and passion for many of these characters through slow, dramatic, simple scenes. For example, the scene where Ricky and Jane 2 sit down and discuss why Ricky records everything. They use footage of a bag twirling around, showing how something so minuscule can mean so much to Ricky. He feels that the world has so much to offer, but such little time to witness it. He sees things and objects and behaviors that normal people wouldn't think about, like a bag being propelled into the air by wind. We finally understand why he was recording Jane 2 and everything around him, because he finds them beautiful, something rare that he must preserve. All this was communicated through short, quick lines and a recording of a bag blowing in the wind. Scenes like this are everywhere in this movie, and I love each and every single one of them. Thank you, Sam Mendes. Back to the plot. Eventually, through slow build-up and further development of the characters, we reach the climax. Jane 2 runs away with Ricky, Ricky leaves his mother with his father, Jane 2 gets a gun and claims she's a victim, and most importantly, Lester actually gets his way. The one thing he's been working hard for this entire time, Angela, is now his. She finally confesses that she's in love with Lester and gives in to him, no matter how creepy the situation might be. And of course, Lester realizes that it was all for nothing. It wasn't everything he wanted it to be. When he finally has her in his grasp, he sees her for who she truly is and how delusional he was. She's a high school senior, someone just like his daughter. He lost everything for this, his job, family, car, and it wasn't even worth it in the end. Like everything else in the world, if it's too good to be true, then it's not true. He may have felt like a king in the moment, but his reality came crashing down. He doesn't even want her. At this point, you may be asking yourself, well, how will he recover from this? How will he change and develop, or will he go back to his old ways? Thankfully, Jane answers this dilemma by killing him with her gun. The real life-altering moment was at the end. We don't get a happy ending, just the consequences of chasing something you lost long ago, being obsessed with delusion. Once you become an adult, you can never go back, no matter how hard you try. Everyone's reactions prove this. I just love this movie so much. Life is precious, so take a hold of it and be alive in the moment. Don't peer into the future, and especially don't peer into the past. Focus on now. Don't rush things and take advantage of what you have while you still have it. Don't try to become someone you are not, and realize that we are all special in our own ways. Don't do whatever you want, because thoughtless decisions often have reckless consequences. When nothing's left, you'll realize that no period of life is ordinary. It's what you make of it. That is American Beauty. And it turns out that the only person living life to the fullest was Ricky. Alright, I'm done. Thank you for watching the video.